ballot to district regular meeting for Thursday, February 23rd. I have 5:32. Roll call.
John Martin, present.
Stacy Pogovich, present.
Neil Erickson, present.
Troy Stetson, present.
Sherry Ringen, present. We do have a quorum. Item number 3 is director's disclosures. There was nothing to disclose?
Nothing to disclose.
Okay, president's welcome and remarks, rules of conduct. So Troy is here, but he is not feeling well, so I will be doing all the talking. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you as always, and those that are watching on video. I would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Neil. Item number 5 is the approval, disapproval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Should now be a good time, since we do have people in the audience, could we move public comment to?
It's number 6.
It's number
Number
6.
6.
Yep.
Thanks.
We already did that.
You're doing a great job.
We read your mind.
Now leave those folks in the
I'll
audience for
second.
7 hours.
So I have a motion by Neil and a second by Stacy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Troy
Next
sounds
item.
lovely.
Sounds like a frog.
Next item, number 6, public comment regarding the current board business not on the agenda. Do you have anyone from the public that would wish to speak?
Well, that worked well.
There you go. No news, any questions or anything? I know we had some new faces, so just, if you have any questions or comments, we're happy to hear them.
Next item.
Observing.
Okay,
It's their first time, so
gotcha. Well, welcome.
thank you.
Next item 7, approval, disapproval of the January 26th regular minutes and the February 9th special minutes.
In the physical packet that you guys, the board has, the special minutes are first. It is double-sided. And then the regular minutes are after that.
Thank you for the phone book, sir.
You asked for it.
You did, we asked for it, but I do genuinely mean thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Who did the special minutes?
Attorneys.
We did.
I like them.
They look good.
I just have a question. We pay somebody to do that already, right? So are we paying twice?
So for that special meeting, since WBA was using their Zoom account, they were able to record it that way, and we're able to do the minutes. We could have had Daniel do the minutes, but it was just as easy to have WBA do the minutes as it would have been Daniel.
Okay. I'm all good with it.
Good.
Mhm.
I make a motion to approve the January 6th, 2023 regular minutes.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Neil and a second from Stacy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we need to make a motion for the other one?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes for the special meeting on February 9th.
I think that's what,
He did January
Oh,
Say
26th.
you-
January, yeah.
okay.
I broke them up, sorry. I got excited.
I'll second.
So a motion by John and a second by Stacy to approve the February 9th special minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 8 will be our legal summary from January 27th to February 17th.
I would just ask if there's any questions regarding this, just to discuss previously, and we'll kind of save the overview going one by one unless there's any specific questions on the happy to answer.
Troy, did you have anything?
No, I thought it looked great. Thank you, Blair, for you guys' work on those, putting that together like that. It definitely reads well. It lays everything out really well.
Certainly.
Okay, number 9, approval, disapproval of financials.
Okay, so for month end January 2023, starting with the Parks and Recreation Enterprise Fund, total revenue for the month of January was $235,120 on a budget of $254,997. Total expenses came in at $122,800 on a budget of $249,867. Net ordinary income for the month of January came in at $112,319 on a budget of $5,129. So definitely good job from Marcus and his teams from an expense management perspective, able to keep the first month of the year's expenses down to a minimum, which is always good going into, usually you see January being very high because there's a lot of expenses that may have occurred in the latter part of the previous year that we just couldn't do because we didn't have the budget for. But in this scenario, Marcus and his team have done a really nice job of not having that scenario play out. Can't say we'll always be there though, right, Marcus? But overall, nice job from the Parks and Rec team to ensure that we are good stewards of the money. Any questions about revenue or income for Parks and Rec?
So I see the main offset between salary and wages, which we're aware of why that's there, with the transition of the new Park and Rec director.
Yeah, it's that, and because the Parks and Rec team right now, you know, they're not in the midst of all the landscaping that may happen or needs to happen or will happen. The team is just not as large. You know, and Marcus and I have been having conversations about the team size as well. And so I think you can step in if you want, but from a right sizing perspective, I think that's where Marcus has got kind of a plan. I don't know how much you want to share with the board at this point.
Yeah, we do have a couple open positions right now, filling another additional maintenance tech position. We're splitting the maintenance techs. Currently, we have one that is kind of doing everything, and we're gonna split it into the two, where one is gonna be taking care of parks, trails, and open space and focusing, and then we're bringing on one, the open position is gonna focus on our facilities, so that we can stay up on top of a lot of these issues that we see from anywhere from cleanliness to repairs to identifying issues. That position, both positions, be integral to a maintenance plan that we're gonna look at instituting. So it was already on the books. They were gonna hire it, they just hadn't yet. So, and we haven't, because we're dialing in, we're treating job description and really identifying, making sure we're getting the right fit for what we need.
So we're rolling into spring and everything else, so I imagine, you know, with our budget trends and everything else, we'll be able to offset with the hire that has to be done for season and then rolling into summer.
Yeah, summer we'll start rolling out outdoor lifeguards, so, because we'll have the 2 pools. We'll have a crew of anywhere from 6 to 10 individual part-time mowing and trimming and doing outside work.
Okay.
So yeah, and then come, you know, mid-September, that'll start rolling back more.
And then in light of what we're experiencing with the weather right now, I know that snow path removal and ice removal in certain areas has been kind of a stickler.
It has, we've been maintaining it, some overtime with the current staff that's doing it. Some of the part-time staff isn't either on vacations or not available, but they've been doing an outstanding job of getting to it. Some bumps, missing in some areas here and there, but for the most part, I've seen a drastic improvement in that area.
Okay.
But yes, there has been some overtime related to that.
And there's a huge offset in repairs and maintenance. We're seeing between the two, 29,833 to 55,10. It's a great reduction in cost of repairs.
Yeah.
Do we have everything outlined because the budget's higher there?
Yeah, so there are some sublines that are built into repairs and maintenance for like the drainage that we've been going through. So instead of that being a continual CapEx project, it's been baked into the repairs and maintenance budget. There's also a sub-line in there for pool pumps and repairs specific to that. That was something that the previous Parks and Rec director and I had talked about, and we worked into the budget for this year because we knew we've got some aging infrastructure, and Marcus can tell you that that's true. So we want to be prepared for that. So there are some additional appropriation of funds that are under that we just haven't seen the costs come through yet, but we definitely will at some time. So it was impossible for me to know exactly when, what month that was gonna happen, so I couldn't necessarily do like a seasonality budget change. I just had to do a flat line budget appropriation of total divided by 12. So that's why you're seeing it's higher, but I fully expect, and Marcus and I have talked about this, that we're gonna start eating into that as these projects come through.
Well, so Stacy and I were both on the budget committee, so we understand why that's there. I just want to make sure it's pointed out to the community others if they're looking over this
Right.
documentation, that that's why it's there and what it's for, so that it doesn't look like we're inflating budgets for no reason, right?
Correct, yeah,
So as to offset
there will be
that
some
CapEx.
seasonality to it,
Right.
especially when we're opening the pool, closing the pool at the end of the year. We're gonna do that maintenance closure this year, there's gonna be things that will be identified.
And then for clarification, we haven't gone a month-end budgeting yet. We're working on that towards the ERP.
Say that one more time.
Month-to-month calculations on budgets.
So this budget actually has some of that baked into it. There is still lots of room for opportunity to refine that.
Right.
But yes, what you're referring to, once we transition over to Tyler Technologies ERP system, we'll have more robust reporting options, and we'll be able to dive deeper into these items and create more consistency, I would say, is what I'm looking for as the finance director. Because right now, some of it is an educated guess, and that's not a good position to be in. We want to be more firm with what we expect expenses to be from a month-to-month perspective, instead of this kind of average, so to speak.
Yeah, that's been the goal, so we're working on the
Yeah.
budget side, so.
When will
appreciate that.
Tyler be ready?
So we're in full implementation right now, so met with our implementation project manager last week. And I actually have the scope documents. I'm gonna be sharing those with the board tomorrow. And we'll start implementing the software within the next 3 months. We'll start actually using it, and then we'll be fully operational within 8 months.
So are the salaries floated because in the summertime you need more? So are we gonna find that in Park and Rec, the salaries increase as far as your monthly allotment?
Yeah, you will, moving like in the near future. As of right now, that has not been modified by like a trend line, because Marcus is really refining what he needs in his workforce. There isn't enough historical data, because he's so new, to be able to provide a seasonality trend that actually makes sense for the way that he's operating that organization at this point.
Your prior experience, you did that as well, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, what
excellent.
you're discussing is how my budget experience has been.
Okay, excellent.
For some reason, I remember, of the 3 enterprises, I remember us leaving Park and Rec on a 12-month cycle. The other 2, we could follow trends on,
Yes,
and they're gonna go up and down because people aren't watering their lawn currently,
yeah.
type deal.
So a lot of the revenue lines, and I was gonna talk about that as we got into those, but especially on the water side, I did make seasonality adjustments to revenue.
Okay,
So those modifications, absolutely I was able to do because I could trust the data source to create those historical trends.
Excellent.
All right, moving on. So wastewater for the month end of January 2023, total income came in at $266,403 on a budget of $425,051. Big offset here, you'll notice, is the tap fees and overall, right? So whether it's district tap fees or tap fees we would get from outside the district, from like Falcon Highlands, Paintbrush Hills, Grandview is in here as well. So like we've discussed in the past, with the current economic climate, there's no builder is able to give us like a true depiction of what an absorption rate would be from a month to month. So this is just a flat line, right, that says, hey, we expect X amount of dollars for the year, divide that number by 12, so that's why you're gonna see that. So you'll see in other months as building has started to progress and get and pick back up, you'll see that number come back up. So I fully expect us to be able to hit these revenue targets. It's just may not be month over month. It may be, 2 months will carry 3 months and so on and so forth. That's the biggest revenue.
You're not running that revenue line as a dependency on income revenue as its core, right? You're
No.
basing that off of what current households we serve?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so, okay.
So there's no risk, like if we don't hit these revenue targets, the risk on like the expense side, we cover our bills with our monthly income that we receive from district. So we're covered there, it's just the excess that we would need for CapEx projects and additional debt service coverage. That's where you would see the tap fees really come into play. Any questions about revenue? All right. Total expenses, $232,747 on a budget of $220,464. I will point out legal fees is the biggest driver. We, as the board is aware, we do have that soft cost agreement for legal reimbursement for the Grandview IGA that we're working on. We have gotten that finalized. We are now in the process of getting wired from that soft cost escrow account, almost $93,000. So that will more than offset everything that's in this line item for this particular month and then some into next month. So what you'll see in February is a credit of almost $93,000 towards that. So that will help out significantly.
That'll reflect on your trend budget, right, for
Yeah.
first quarter?
Right.
Cool. Next.
Any questions? No? Okay. All right, for the water enterprise, for the month end of January 2023, total income came in at $273,003 on a budget of $413,151. Very similar in that tap fees were still pretty low compared to expectation. We just discussed that with sewer, it's the same scenario here. I will say that, as the board is aware, we've had some issues from a budgeting, or not budgeting, accounting perspective with Challenger, right? That has since been resolved. They have paid us all the back due that they owed for the month of January. That payment just got processed today, so it's not reflected in the financials you have in front of you, but they have since paid the difference on the 2023 tap fees, plus all the water acquisition fees that they owed for the first 6 taps that they bought in the month of January. That, again, not reflected on here because it just got processed today. Any questions about water income? Like I said earlier, I did adjust seasonality for water consumption, both residential, commercial as well. So you will see those lines in here. I did the same for the park and rec water use. I still have to dig into that a little bit more. I'm not necessarily liking the trend line there, and I'm not sure if it's a data issue in terms of our billing software, because we bring in all the water meter, reads for everything, including Parks and Rec, and I'm still trying to flush that out, because I adjusted for seasonality, I adjusted the budget based off of historical trends, and it still didn't meet the budget expectation that I put in for this year. So I'm diving into that deeper to understand where's the miss. So total expenses for water month of January was $198,004 on a budget of $243,622. Biggest line to call out there is our water meters. We've had to buy some additional stock to ensure that we stay up on supply. As everybody knows, supply chain is always a problem, so we had to make sure we had ample stock in case we needed them, because we are seeing more and more development starting to come in. So it's important to just maintain that stock, so that's the reason you'll see that high expense line for the month of January.
Payroll tax has gone up in each department.
Yes, have they gone up?
Yeah.
I did increase the budget this year. And from this year, it looks like there have been some additional increases that I wasn't able to adjust for when the initial budget went up.
So it'll hold in the budgetary guidelines, but now we're gonna be seeing that running for the next 12 months on trend. Those are
I need
fixed.
at least probably the first quarter to be able to understand how that's gonna affect the full year trend line.
Okay.
If we have to make a budget amendment to appropriate more funds for payroll taxes, we may have to do that, but was something that was increased year over year, it just happened to not be enough. Any questions about water? Okay, so overall district performance, the budget for month end of January 2023. Total revenue came in at $774,527 on a budget of $1,093,201. Total expenses came in at $555,811 on a budget of $713,955. Net ordinary income for the district was $218,715 on a budget of $379,245.
We have all our depreciation schedules built out, right?
Yep,
for this
it's
year?
in there.
Okay. I just did it.
Those are done monthly.
Okay. We got a monthly, so
It's done monthly, yeah.
thank you.
Any questions overall, district finances for the month of January? All right, thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve or disapprove financials for the month of January?
I'll make a motion to approve the financials for the month of January.
Second.
A motion by Stacy and a second by John. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Number 10 is to consider for approval a second amendment to the resolution concerning district charges and fees. This will be resolution number 2023-02-27-4. And what this is an amendment to change Paintbrush Hill sewer treatment fee to $29.88 a month for December 1 to December 31, 2022.
So the board actually already voted on this, but at the time, the resolution wasn't available, so this is the actual resolution that the board already. We just need signatures.
It's 2023-2-2301, right?
No, 2023-02-27-4.
That's it. It's a different one.
This is the one we did during a regular
Right.
meeting.
Yep,
last
you
month.
did it last month, we just didn't have the resolution at the time, so now the resolution's here, it can be signed. So the, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but there doesn't need to be another vote for that resolution?
That's correct.
Item 11, consider a resolution establishing electronic signature policy. Do you want to explain this, Carter?
I'll let John.
Yeah, so this is simply a policy saying that wet signatures are not required on future resolutions. They can send these via DocuSign or Adobe for e-signatures.
That should make Troy very, very happy.
Makes me happy.
Makes me happy.
If I felt better, I'd be doing cartwheels.
Can we do this for checks too?
It's coming, it's coming.
So JD had to let me into the building, I think it was last week, to sign checks, cause I was coming in right at closing time. And as I'm signing, and some of my signatures didn't look like they normally do, I want to stamp.
I think you took my packet
I know.
and you
Ours
went like
haven't been,
this,
adopted previously.
No, it needs to be voted on.
because I don't think anything I have.
So can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-02-23-01.
Second.
Motion by Stacy, second by John. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries, and I want to see those cartwheels, Troy.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
What's electronic documents? What are those?
Neil.
Next item on the
Joe,
agenda,
from a
number
different
12, Park and Rec report.
All right, so we kind of went through our financials a little bit, but I'm trying to give some context to it a little bit. The staff is doing a great job on identifying new programming, offering programming, even with the snow making programming run. So, fitness programming, just to compare, January 23, we had 506 registered participants, January 22, 274. So, Allison's doing a great job, diverse amount of activities and getting them offering. Those are included for free for our district residents. So those are opportunities to come in and utilize and wide variety of programming. So since they are free, they don't really show up in those financial reports, but we are seeing increased usage in those areas. And we are adding a yoga class. That has been something that we've been trying for a while to find an instructor, so we are offering yoga classes on Tuesdays, 5:45 to 6:45 p.m. and Saturdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And that'll be starting in March, so we will have a new addition there. Down the road, we are losing an instructor, but Bree, she does our bounce classes, our rebound classes, but she gave us enough notice that we'll be able to hire someone and get someone certified in the meantime, so we should have hopefully no interruption of classes there. Sports programming, this is our last weekend of youth basketball. Really had a good turnout this year. This year we had 72 participants versus 46 last year. We added an additional team also, so we're seeing growth. And then we anticipate to see that same growth in soccer, which is our next season. Starting registrations going on now, practices are in March, games in April. Facility uses at RCE, we've increased by 526 total. So 376 of that's residents, so we're seeing more usage at RCE as well versus last year at this time. We've made a couple tweaks. We really are trying to listen to, making an effort to go and talk to resident participants in the different program areas, monitoring social media, different items like that to see where maybe some of our deficiencies are at. 2 items that we've changed is our guidelines on usage for the gymnasium for the basketball courts. In April 22, decision was made not to allow non-residents and no guests into the basketball courts due to some altercations that were happening in there at night, and then some equipment that was being broken. And talking with residents, we think we have ways to monitor that. Everybody comes in, if someone breaks something, we'll charge them for it. That's what we do anyway, so that's already on the books. So we're not too worried about that. And altercations, we'll just staff, train up. We're not gonna punish the whole for actions of a few. And if some people do have altercations, we will just call the sheriff and have them dealt with. And one thing that did stand out was residents did not want additional people in the weight room. It is a small space, and we heard that loud and clear. So what we've done is a compromise. So we are allowing non-residents and guests into the basketball courts, but not the weight room. And to do this, 12 and older are wearing wristbands. They're like a neon orange wristband, so we can identify who belongs where, so staff can easily tell. And we're a week into it and haven't had no issues, so we're doing well. So I think we've met the needs on both of those. So starting last Saturday, we have done it, and it's been a welcome thing, especially on the snow days when we're open and kids can come in and bring their friends and play basketball. And that's what we really want to happen. So, and then another thing we've done is lowered our child watch age from 2 years was the minimum to 18 months. And we talked to Meridian, to Little Sport, to the YMCA, other organizations, kind of not instead of reinventing the wheel, just kind of mimicking what they're doing, making sure we're staying within the regulations and guidelines that we need to do. So we bought a paging system like you see at restaurants. So if a parent is working out or in a class, and the child has a diaper that needs to be changed or fed or too fussy, they page them, parent comes, grabs them, and takes care of what needs to be done. So that's worked out really well. We had about 3 parents that really couldn't attend classes because of our age limit, so we lowered that to 18 months, and now the classes, as I said, we're seeing those filling up, so we wanna make sure that we're not putting barriers up and trying to work. So those are 2 of the operational things we've done here in the last month.
Our liability guidelines for 18 months, we're good with that? We're covered?
Yep, especially, we're kind of going overboard by having the parents come in and do the changing the diapers and feeding. And then also they have to stay on premises, that's what the page is for. So they do have to stay, if they leave premises, it's a whole different story.
Yeah,
So
no
the
free
fact that they
babysitting.
just have to stay is what we have to do. So
Nice.
like parents' night out, the minimum age on that, I believe, is 5 or 6. That's for the reasons because it goes into that license and unlicensed childcare option.
Excellent, I just wanna make sure we're covered, so.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep, and then also, we've redone the website on our end, so myself, Craig and Stephanie's information is on the website, so, if anybody has comments, concerns, they can feel free to reach out to us directly and we can handle those.
Excellent.
I sent you guys kind of a novel, I tried to keep it short during my presentation. Do you have any questions on what I sent?
We're not giving them Reading Ranch's phone number, Villa Sports number, right?
What's that?
Just teasing.
We should.
Contact me at Villa Sports, complaint line.
Great job over there, been hearing a lot of good things. Thank you very much for the hard work, especially Stephanie and Craig.
They're great, as I said, that's why I wanted to call out how their numbers are doing, and solely responsible to the hard work they put in months ago to get to this point. My efforts honestly won't show until summer.
We look forward to seeing them.
Thank you.
Good luck to your son.
Thank you, yeah.
You need to beat feet, right?
Yeah, he's ranked in top 10 in every race, so hopefully he comes back a state champion over the weekend.
Awesome.
You need to get there, right?
Yeah, I do, but I'm gonna stick around just for a little bit, tell executive, and then I'll,
Okay.
take off.
Kept that under 5 minutes, you've been coaching?
I got a note right here that says to do it.
You said some power 25-minute park and rec meetings. Everything else we can review, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion on Park and Rec? Okay, next item 13 is the water report.
Oh, I got that one.
I'll come closer because I want to shout across the room.
We love seeing you.
Fine, I'm happy about that.
Howdy, sir.
Anyway, so the operations report as follows. January 18, update on the district's meter program has been completed with all meters installed. Woodman Hills Metro District Water Operations and office staff would take this time to thank the community for their participation in making this meter program a success and meeting our deadline. So, thank you about that.
You guys did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really short turnaround for the amount of homes you had
How
to
many
do.
meters and how many months?
So, we had, at that time, we had 3,033 meters that had to be changed out before the November deadline, which carried into January. The problem is that when you carry something over in a year that you didn't make your deadline, it makes an interesting billing cycle. So we just wanted to eliminate any frustrations with the customers in that transition, at the same time, making an easier transition into the new system. So that was the end goal of all that. Okay, the 27th of January, the new transfer pump station is underway. Glacier Construction started mobilizing their equipment at the Theora tank site. In the weeks ahead, the backwash tank will be installed. The foundation and plumbing will be done in the inside of that foundation. That would be installed with the extensions of the sewer main into the tank site. Updates will be provided through the construction process as usual at the monthly scheduled board meetings. And so this week, they're putting in the track pad, just that's found on that. And plus next week, they'll be doing digging for that tank to be installed. And then the 30th, all treatment plants and water pumping stations are in the maintenance mode. We do this during the winter time to gear up for the spring's irrigation season. Water operations staff is making any and all repairs if necessary, and to preventive maintenance to the critical equipment that could go down, and to minimize those downtimes, and that's including making sure we have enough parts on hand, as well as having those on inventory for those critical components. The bent grass development behind us here, or actually kind of more to my left. Bent grass commercial, that's right behind the 7-Eleven, as well as the Falcon Marketplace, that's the King Supers. They're all doing good as far as their development stages. The update is that Slim Chickens is scheduled to open next week, or the earliest time. That's what I got from our inspector today, as well as Superstar Car Wash and a few other businesses, Panda Express. Those are the ones that are going to be coming online. Our back tea samples were collected, we're still good. We had no brown water calls that I'm aware of that were not, called to the office. We haven't had any of those reports. And all of our fire hydrants, thank goodness, they're not out of service by any accidents from vehicles or
Just to keep you aware, there are people that like to hit them with cars.
A lot.
A lot.
Just in case you didn't know.
Remember that one month there were 3?
Yeah,
We've had a couple.
we do. We have nightmares about that.
That's it. Actually,
Thank
did
you
we
very much.
ever get a
Thank you.
map up for the Falcon Marketplace and the bent grass stuff on the website for what's going in?
No,
Do they have one?
I will look. I
Could we
don't.
get one?
I'll look for one.
Could you email it? Just
I'll get with the county to see what they can provide.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious what's going in there, because I know there's a lot of questions around it. So I'm sure the homeowners might want to know, where's Dunkin' Donuts going in?
what's that?
I don't know. I don't know if there's Dunkin' Donuts. I heard there was a
Dunkin' Donuts
Chili's
is,
or something.
rumor is that the Dunkin' Donuts is gonna go by the 7-Eleven. Haven't seen anything more preliminary from the county on that yet.
There was a sign that said Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah.
coming soon or something.
Now that I don't love the 3 Mexican restaurants and the 14 pizza places,
Now 6 Chinese
Tire.
places.
6
6
Tire
Chinese
shops.
and tire shops.
Yeah, 17 tire shops.
I just wanna be able to have some choices on what to do.
Well, we go through a lot of tires with all those potholes.
That's true, we're on a highway. So,
Thank you,
excellent.
JD.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
No, just a quick statement, I love the fact that your stuff is on letterhead, sir, thank you.
It has been.
I know. Talking to somebody.
Turn it over, you'll see the same. Oh, is yours not double-sided?
Not this one, sir.
No, mine's not double.
Is
Oh,
this yours?
Yours Yours
Sorry.
copied weird.
Well, see,
It
What's
has
wrong
to
with
be
this
John's.
packet?
It has to be John's.
see, first, he doesn't email it to me this month. He emails everybody else, right? So Marcus finally has to jump in and say, hey, did you get this?
No problem.
I said, no. So Marcus had to email it to me. Then I get here and it's like somebody took and shuffled it. Here you go. And mine's double-sided.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Great job,
I see that.
thank you.
Well, I'm up here for the next
3
report.
months.
Okay.
Item 14 is the wastewater report.
Okay,
Day grass.
so for February, the DMR is complete, that's a yearly report, is sent in to the state of Colorado to make sure that we didn't fall into any violations with wastewater discharge into the natural streams and so forth. Next on the agenda there, electric plans for the headwork projects are now approved, but some changes have been made. Once electricians get all the parts on hand, then the installation can begin.
So we're gonna use the grate that we bought a year ago?
I'd like to see that in.
The stream
I feel
installed
like it was almost 2 years
I
ago.
think it was 2 years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I
too
think it was
years.
2 years
I think it
ago.
was 2 years ago, we did
Yeah.
approve that,
It's amazing.
amazing supply chain.
Then, the next item is a 120 horsepower motor, for the blower 3 had arrived, and now they're waiting for the UA compression for, installation. It's a company that has the blowers for that motor to be installed there. And then they're still waiting to be scheduled for that install. Next one is the survey company began surveying the 105 acre parcel that we purchased last year. So that's underway. That should be done. I'll probably drive by there tomorrow to see if that's been completed at that site. Next item is D49 submitted a revised reimbursement agreement for the bus barn project. Attorneys are still looking over as all this is in the write-up stages. Next one is still working on the negotiations regarding the golf course water IGA. And the next one would be the ongoing IGA negotiations with D.R. Horton for Grandview Development. The next one would be the working with the engineers for changing solids holding from mechanical aerators to diffused air, which would be nice to see that happening there. And then the 2022 biosolids report completed with and submitted to the CDPHE and the EPA. That's another yearly component. Again, very important that we make sure we're not violating any of their treatment processes that takes place in our new sewer treatment plant. And finally, the water treatment plant is orderly, operating nicely, no equipment down time for the last month, or currently as of today, there's nothing been offline.
Awesome.
Very good job.
Yay.
Where's Wally?
He's on
He's
vacation, we
in
know
Florida fishing.
Hey, I have a question.
Hey, I didn't get a notification on my calendar.
I didn't either.
Wally's a workaholic.
What about me?
Lift station down here by the,
Roll Hires,
You know, Troy, I didn't get that
is that
message.
bike Roll Hires? We got 3 of them.
I'll have to talk
the
to
one by the
Wally
liquor
about that
store
one.
and all the stuff right down here in town.
On the bottom, that's the Meridian.
So Meridian and us own both,
You
both
probably didn't put
of
it
us
in
own
there.
that, correct?
Right,
No, he
The
was called
fencing
Troy's
around that?
vacation.
that's Meridian's responsibility.
Okay, can we get with them and ask them to please maintain that because it's
Sure.
not being maintained?
Yeah, I was gonna say something to Braden about it, it's come pretty shabby.
Yeah, there's pickets missing, it's does not look like, it doesn't look good.
We'll call you J.D. Eves. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
You know, you can let him know when he comes back that you did that better than he did.
Well, last
And I
month,
said that because I didn't know he was on vacation.
well,
My
last month.
question is if he can do both of them, why do we need Wally?
That's
Hey.
That's another discussion to have. I agree. There might be room in the budget after all.
I don't know, JD looks like he's gonna have a stroke if we do that.
Boy, they love this board, don't they?
We do.
Item 15, items unfinished from previous meetings.
I had something, but I can't remember. That's what happens to be old.
Anything?
I lost it. I don't know. Nope, I got nothing.
Item 16, board follow-up on older items.
The banking policy is set up for state bank and all that. I know we've been looking for progressions as far as updating those policies for access, because I know that right now, I have to go in and authorize special purchases.
You're talking about for the ACHs?
Yeah,
So I got that resolved some time
Okay.
ago. So I have my own access so that when Kaylin puts in the ACH file, I then can go in and approve it.
and that still works for the moves as well.
Yeah, I can do internal transfers up to a certain dollar amount
Okay.
within our, internal accounts, but I don't have any access, obviously, to do external transfers.
Right, okay. I just want to make sure that was sorted, because I know that
Yeah.
we had a few things we had to move that were going to different accounts, so, okay. That's all I had.
Before we kick everybody out, the young lady in the back, you came in after we did public comment. Did you have a comment you wanted to make tonight?
I guess just a question.
Are you cool with that, Sherry?
Absolutely.
Please.
My parents live here in Woodland Hills. In terms of water bills, I've been helping my parents pay that for the past few months now. And I saw that the due date had been changed from the 25th to the 20th. So I just kind of wanted some clarification on why that is. For me personally, it's gotten harder trying to make that deadline, especially since I only make 14 an hour to be honest. So I don't get paid right before the 20th or right on the 20th, which it is making it hard for me. So I just wanted to just ask why that was pushed back.
Carter, would you like to answer that?
Sure.
You can answer it, so.
So, I'll turn around. So I'm the Director of Finance and Administration for the district. So the policy that was changed to move it from the 25th to the 20th, one, it was to be, excuse me, in line with the policy that the Board of Directors had set out in our bylaws some time ago, where there were certain limitations on when we would do billing and when shut-off calls would happen and things like that, that, to be honest, weren't being followed. So we had to be more in line with how the Board of Directors guides the district. So that was part of the change, and then moving the date specifically was to ensure that the district as a whole, we have the ability to get the monthly payments in time before we have to turn right around and start billing for the next month. Because when we were doing it at the 25th, we would have people that wouldn't necessarily pay until, let's say, the 30th. And so we were running into issues where we didn't have those payments in, and we would start to do billing for the next month, which happens the very first day of the next month. And so it causes these reconciliation errors, both internally and for customers as well. So moving that date to the 20th allows for the district to ensure that we're getting those payments in time to pay all of the bills that the district has, and to give the leeway before we start the billing cycle for the next month.
And then just another question, so in terms of late fees, does that
So the late fee policy has always been within 2 days of when the bill is due, the late fee would go into place. Previous to the board's approval of the changes that have went into effect for January of this year, it was a flat rate fee of $10.50. The board decided to change that to 1%. So it actually reduced that financial burden if there was one that was assessed significantly. So yes, there is still a late fee that would be imposed if someone doesn't pay on time. But for this first month, because obviously this is the first month we're in, it's always billed in arrears, so January is paid in February. The board, previously, myself as Director of Finance, we have opted to not charge any late fees for the month of January because this is a policy change and we want to make sure that everybody fully understands what we've done and not to penalize anybody that would normally pay on time. So for the month of January, no late fees are being assessed.
We sent that notice out starting in August of last year.
Correct.
To the homeowners, and they continually send it out. The unfortunate part is that the office is getting a lot of questions pushed on that particular change, which is really, really hard on them because we've done it for a while. There's no best communication to get that out, whether it be email or going door to door would be a huge problem because that's a huge task. But we've sent out plenty of notice in a long time. This is a bylaw that was in place before this board and many boards before us. It just wasn't being followed, which is the biggest problem. And then getting out reconciliation for bills is a problem because when we send that bill out on the 1st, we don't have enough time to get the next bill out if the payments aren't received on the other. So some customers were coming in and really, really upset because they're getting a bill that's twice as much, even though they paid it. And if you want to see a homeowner freak out, because your board members up here, we all live in this district for a while. So if I get a bill for $400, you better believe I'll call the office, right? Even though that's not the true bill, but it's what they've recorded because of the timing. So, but I would say stick around and we can talk about your situation a little more.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I have no problem giving you my contact information. And, we can talk a little bit more about your situation and see what we can do to point you into some directions for some support for you and your parents. Yep.
How about you folks? Any questions now?
So we haven't lived here very long, not even 2 months. And so it was a huge shock to me whenever I got my first notification that the bill was gonna be $180 because my seller never told me that. When was the last time that was increased to the 180 that it is now?
So we did that increase this year. Last year, we didn't do an increase. Prior to COVID and everything else, we found it important to balance out our budget. With this particular board, we worked through a lot of financial changes. And then, of course, with everything going through the roof, we talked about supply chain and joke about it, but it is a serious matter. Kind of give you an idea that we've taken, just in chlorine costs for maintenance and water and the things you drink and the chemical costs. Some of that stuff's gone up 300%, right? So the offsets, Stacy and I work on the budget committee, and we've hammered down on everything we can possibly hammer. Again, we're homeowners here too. The last thing I want to see is a bill increase. Unfortunately, we see it a lot, especially with the sales of homes, and this is not just here, it's everywhere. So I used to work in the real estate market. And what they don't do when they sell you a house is they don't say, hey, here's the HOA fees, right? And here are the other bills. Now, the nice thing, depending on where you live in Woodman Hills, this particular filing 1 and 2 are not on an HOA. That fee's not in there. There are some sections.
Just filing 11.
Filing 11.
Filing 11 is on an HOA, and they've got a separate fee for that. So that's kind of the nice thing about living here, so to speak, without having that additional HOA fee. I will tell you that for our district, we've talked about it quite a bit on this board. As far as the fees go, in our surrounding districts and districts that are like us, we don't have a levy, so there's no mill levy. Other districts are paying your fee, what you see here, plus some, plus the mill levy. They just don't see the mill levy because it goes where?
On your tax.
It's on your taxes, right? So our taxes are more in line as far as the district's concerned, and we try to focus on that as a board to make sure that we keep that as low as possible. But in order to maintain our growth and what we've got going on here, and supply good water, more importantly, good sewer, as JD and Wally will tell you, you know, what comes out of the sink is more really important. What goes into the sink somewhere, you know, is way more important. So that's where we're at. But
What was it priced at before though, before y'all raised it?
we're at-
$12 less.
yeah,
166.35.
there you go.
So how often would you say there is a raise? Every 2 years?
Only as needed. So we reevaluate that budget really, really hard, and that's based, we tend to take into consideration the CPI index, what's going on, because we have to predict on how to make sure that you still got good water and facilities here in the district, so. And then we have to accommodate for everything that's coming into the district too, as far as growth goes, because some chickens and all those companies, you know, start doing some massive growth out here, and we've got newer housing developments. I'll tell you that, as a board, we really, really focus on how we can diffuse that cost. And that has to come in with bringing in additional homeowners. So, but there's only so much land left, right? So we kind of focus on keeping that cost down. But I think, what would you do last year? Was it 3.5%, 4.5% increase?
No, it was more than that.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think we had to go
I
to
thought it
7.
was 6.
So to answer your question, it's
Overall.
something we look at every year during budget hearings, and
It could be every January. It couldn't be.
We start holding those
Depends.
meetings in October, so I'd encourage you to come attend so you can find out what we're doing and why. A lot of folks haven't come in during that time period, but like I said, we didn't raise anything in
2021.
2020.
We didn't
Yeah.
raise anything. We thought it was kind of a give back to the residents for surviving 2020. And so in 2021, we let people who maybe had to start a new career or do something else because their industry was different, give them 2021 off. What we didn't realize was our supply chain was gonna go up by 300%. And so in 2022, we, as a district, kept it together. It was real tight because we went with 0 increases, but paid the 300% increase on the other side. Just kind of like your grocery bill. It was a lot lower in 2020, not so much in 2022, 23.
Sorry, gotta feed the chickens.
So we look at it every year, but typically the budget committee starts getting together in August. By October, we present to the rest of the board, and by the December board meeting, we decide as to where the rates will fall. And it's based off each enterprise. You know, if water has a lot of chemical increase, but Park and Rec didn't, then you'd see an increase in water, but not Park and Rec. It's not well, he's getting 3% and sewer's getting 3% and water's getting 3%. It's fluctuated based off of the need of each enterprise.
And another thing that you may have not seen when you purchased your home is that we're a recreational living community. So Park and Rec does have that fee. We spent a couple of years of getting that fee correct and having it in the right category and having the right things in that category. We have homeowners that say, well, I don't use it, so I shouldn't have to pay for it. Unfortunately, it's a part of our service plan, so it will never go away, right? So I encourage you to use it a lot.
I
You're
encourage-
paying for it.
I encourage my neighbors all the time. They'll say, Stacy, you're on the board. What do you recommend me doing? I said, it's in the service plan. That was way before any of us. So use the pool, use the trails, use the pickleball courts.
Use the gym equipment. We have 2 centers, this one and the East Center. We've got outdoor pavilions. If you're not familiar with the new parks, please take a look at the map, stop by.
Yeah.
You know, and he will show you everything. We have Frisbee golf, if you're into that, right? So there's a lot of things that we try to bring community-wise that you're not paying additional for. And we spend a lot of time trying to create other opportunities, which you may have heard in the beginning of this meeting, about basketball camps and things like that. What we do is we do those camps to generate revenue, right? To offset your bill. So those other homeowners that don't have these facilities and they're coming to use our center, it's A, to make use of the property, right? B, it's to keep your bill as low as we can. So that's something to consider, and a lot of folks in the community don't understand that. So that's what we tried to do as a board in the last 3 years, and hopefully going forward, so.
And if you're really, really interested on what goes on with the board and the community and what's happening, there are 2 board positions coming open. Self-nomination forms are due to the district office by the end of February.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh, by tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, so
Yeah.
Come
So
join
John-
us, it's
John and I
fun.
will not be rerunning this year. John's gonna be moving out of the district. I'll still live here, so I'll probably be a thorn in the side showing up once in a while. However, my job opportunities have changed, so it doesn't leave as much free time as the 60 hours a week that I've been putting in since I started this, so. We spend a lot of time up here doing this virtually for free. So we wanna make sure that our, like I said, we live here.
Neil's doing a great sales job for the board position.
yeah.
Volunteering an entire work week is,
Yeah. Well, we went through a lot of changes, so, we may not necessarily do that much time. So it just depends on, I'm a firm believer you get what you give, so I put in 40 to 60 hours because I believe in getting what you get. So if you guys are interested in an opportunity like that, I encourage you, to become a part of the board and really, really see what's going on, because you'll be amazed at what you don't know before you get on this board. And then you'll be really amazed at what you figure out how water and wastewater really works, right? It sounds like fun, right?
Oh, I don't know about it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I'm the fun one.
Where do we fall compared to like CSU, and I know like Black Hills, they can't get like water meters, and sometimes they're getting like 6 months worth of free water and stuff like that. Is that like a?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen here.
Okay.
No, JD would never let that happen. He's the director of water, so
Yeah.
that would never happen.
We've been blessed with a really, really excellent team of people. You got a severe diversified background as far as the board's concerned. I'm going to brag at some of the things that people do on this board, and not that any job's any less than any other, but, the people who've been on this board for the last years, I've been really honored of being a part of it, even though we got Bosley on the phone right here, as our president. So, for those of you, that dates me as far as how old I am, because, I catch the Bosley reference. Just let us know what you want us to say, Angels.
Some more information on our budget. Every year I publish a budget book. It is on our website, so you can take a look at that. It has some more information about budget trends, why did we see an increase, what's the necessity of it. And if you have more questions, you can come by the office, see me. I'm glad to go over it with you, spend as much time as you want. I work for the board, but I work for the community too. We all do. So whatever questions you have, big or small, we're here to help.
We've been really focused on being transparent, and we're hoping that continues. I'm sure it will, because you're only gonna have 2 board members that are leaving, the other 3 will still be in place to keep that going. So transparent that we're getting our budgets broken down by month, right? That's a huge financial feat, because I don't know of any other district that's doing that financially. We're looking at month, quarter, breakouts, 6 months, where's the money at, where are we applying it, is it the right place, is it for the right thing, what's it costing us, and how does it affect the homeowners in every case, so.
And
Hopefully
last
that
but not
answers.
least, welcome to the community.
Yeah. About where do you guys live? What road?
Filing 11.
Okay.
Well, you do have an HOA.
got one filing.
Yeah.
How's your meetings?
What's that?
How's your meetings over there?
We don't have anything to do.
They have HOA meetings.
Yeah, it was
as well.
last night.
They do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine what those will be like.
She
Yeah.
signs me up for all this stuff.
All right.
Spit out the calendar.
So,
Set them up, show them up.
I moved into the district, and a month later I ran for the board. So,
And we do record our meetings and put them on our website. If you guys can't attend, you can always watch them.
Yep. We don't have a YouTube channel, there's no Vimeo, but you can go straight to the website, so. We stay off of TikTok as well. God, do we stay off of TikTok? Get a million views.
Okay, so before we go into item 17, just for the community members that are here and those that are watching, I understand that change is frustrating, but I ask that you please be respectful to our office staff when you call. It's never appropriate to swear and cuss it at the staff, they're just doing their jobs. So please just be professional when you call and have concerns or questions for them. And we expect them to do that, and I would ask that you do the same.
We'll record those and give them to your kids.
I could have brought some with me.
Yeah, I heard some of that, and we had a conversation about how it is, yeah, just be respectful. You know, they don't make policy, you know, and technically, we didn't make it either. I mean, we had to honor what we had in place for the bylaws, so.
And all of
Be
your board
nice.
members, our information is on the website, you can always email us if you have concerns, we respond pretty quick, so. With that, we'll go into number 17, executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations under CRS 24-6-4024E, namely the Paintbrush Hills Metro District Arbitration Review, a draft intergovernmental agreement with Falcon Highlands, potential agreements, contracts for Grandview, a water rights purchase, and a draft inclusion and service agreement with CTS Metro LLC doing business as Circle K Stores Incorporated. Can I get a
Is that a
motion?
motion?
Can I get a motion?
Motion to go into executive session for all of that stuff that she just said.
Second.
Motion by Neil, second by John. Any more discussion? We are now in executive session. Discussion? Item number 18, other business. So let's consider for approval termination of our intergovernmental agreement between us, Woodman Hills Metro District and Falcon Highlands Metro District for water operation and maintenance services.
I'll make a motion that we terminate
I'll second.
with notification from legal as they deem appropriate.
Thank you.
I still second.
Motion by John, second by Neil. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Consider for approval a water rights purchase contract.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with the water rights contract, acquisition contract.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by John, second by Stacy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Any other business? Okay, with that, we will move to item 19, which is adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Motion by John, second by Stacy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned.